Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. Today we have a rockin' show and a rockin' guest. You are not going to believe who we have on. But first, Nikki, I know that you have another podcast. So I know that you know that in the beginning of a podcast, everybody has to listen to the music. All right, here we go. See you guys in a second. You're on the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vickie Helm. Today, I have the #1 international best-selling author who helps entrepreneurs go from 7 to 9 figures, wherever you are. If you're at 5, 6, 7, 8, and you want to go, this is the show for you. This is the guy you want to talk to. This is going to be such a powerful conversation. And it's going to be Vickie and Nikki. So it's Vickie and Nikki. I've never had that happen before today.
I love it.
Welcome to the Coffee Break Show. I'm so happy you're here today.
Vickie, it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm pumped. Let's rock and roll.
I know. I was like, okay, there's a couple of things I like about the show already. First off, he's got 2 podcasts. He's got the Sovereign Man podcast. And give me the name of the first one again.
The Thought Leader Revolution.
That's it. The Thought Leader Revolution. And that one's like the #1 show in the Thought Leader category as well.
That's right.
And you're speaking about 2 things right now that I absolutely love, which is thought leadership and sovereignty. You know, this is, and I want to know, why'd you start them, what you're doing. I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about your business. There's so much I want to unpack with you. I'm not sure where to start, but let's start it with these shows that you're on. And, you know, don't worry if you're driving, if you're listening on iHeartRadio or Pandora or wherever you're listening to, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. All of the things we're going to be talking about, I promise they'll be in the show notes. They'll be there so that you can go ahead and connect with him easily. So, you know, you can listen to his podcast. But tell me, how come 2 shows? Tell me, why did you start them and what you're hoping to share with the universe by, by having these podcasts going?
That's a fantastic question. So, originally, let me give you a little bit of a backstory because I think that's an important part of really explaining this properly. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. And back when I was a boy, the Islamic Revolution happened in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall, and he hustled his family out of Iran and into Canada, into the free West. And every day I thank God for my father and for his prescience in getting the family out, because he took us out of tyranny and brought us to freedom. And I know today it's very fashionable among certain circles to denigrate the West, denigrate America, denigrate Canada. Oh my God, so oppressive, so racist, so sexist, so whatever. And I have this to say to them. Really? You know what just happened in Iran? A young woman, 22 years old, was beaten to death by the police, quote unquote, for the crime, and I'm being facetious, of walking outside with her hair partially uncovered. That would never happen here. We stand up for people's rights here. Yes, we've made mistakes, but we always seek to be better. We always seek to fix those mistakes. And I think everyone should be grateful that they get to live in a free society, in a free country.
Yes.
1000%. And that informs who I am and what I do. See, my dad was an entrepreneur. He was an uplifter. Vickie, Dad, if you needed a job, Dad would get you a job. If you were looking to start up a business, Dad would set you up, even if you were going to compete with him. He didn't care about those things. And if you worked for him and you were looking to buy a car, a house, an apartment, you didn't have enough money, Dad would take care of you and make sure that you could do that. And you might be thinking to yourself, what? Who does that? Well, Napoleon Billou, my dad with the regal name, he does that. Secondly, though, he did it because he was a Christian. He felt he'd been blessed by God and he had to share his blessings. He also did it because he could. He had the financial wherewithal. So I'm looking at this going, I want to be like that. I want to be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are about freedom. Entrepreneurs are about uplifting people. And so
That's
I
right.
became an entrepreneur, and I saw there was a lot of my fellow entrepreneurs, good people in business, who yet they hesitated when it came to actually, asking for the business. They didn't want to come across
Yeah.
as pushy or salesy, or they reeked of commission breath. Yuck, yuck, oh my
Yeah.
God, none of that stuff. They just wanted to be good people. The problem is they wouldn't get business they should be getting. That hurt them. And then those people that they could have helped, some charlatan would go there who had no compunctions about going after that money, but they wouldn't deliver for them. So the sum total of goodness went down. And I thought to myself, how can I help people? Well, first of all, I need to let good people, good men and women who are entrepreneurs, know that they
Yes.
have a champion. Nicky Billou and the Thought Leader Revolution is a champion show for entrepreneurs. We believe in freedom and free expression and free enterprise. It's so important to us. And we bring them the best and smartest people in the world to show them how they can take their business from tragic to magic. And I show these good people
Oh
how they
God,
can
I love that. From tragic to
to
magic.
magic. Isn't it good?
Boom.
Boom. But this is the thing. The good people need to reframe
Yes.
selling, which is yucky, to serving, which is awesome.
Yep.
Nobody wants to be sold. Vickie, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold. But everybody wants to be served by a caring fellow human being. The great American poetess Maya Angelou said, they will never remember what you said. They will never
Really.
remember what you did. They will always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
Yes,
One of my favorite quotes, who doesn't like Maya Angelou? One of my
love them.
favorite quotes. That's something that is so important when we're looking at the world right now, because um, the world we're serving right now is a world of distrust. It's from the first time ever in the history of the Eldman's Trust Barometer. We have more distrust than we have trust. Why? Because so many people have been hosed,
Oh,
and a lot of them have been hosed by politicians and marketers and salespeople and financial people. People are not jumping out going, "Hey, I'm in." And so one of the things that you really want to build is trust and a sense of loyalty and a sense of community or a sense of belonging. And being salesy now is not seen as such a good thing to have. But there is a way to serve and sale. There is a To me, this is paramount. People don't want to be sold anymore. You are so right. But they want to be served. But they will look at you cynically first. They want to be served in a way that's authentic. They want to see you, and they want to see you with warts and all. They don't want to see that's like, the way some salespeople get up. It's like, well, I got up to bat, bases were loaded, and I hit it out of the park. And every time I get up to bat, I hit it out of the park. That's not true. And it's also to the point where when we are talking about connecting with people, what the basic thing that Nicky just said, and I think this is so important. It's like you live in a free society. So free, it'll tell you can say anything to anyone out in the air that you want. And protecting that freedom is the most important thing, even if you don't agree with what somebody's saying. Having the right to say it is the most important. So, on your show, right now we have the Sovereign Man show. I want to go to the Thought Leader show. I want to talk about that a little bit. How did you get into the Thought Leader? And I love your dad. He was just a thought leader himself. He was in Iran, got his family out, and I want to talk about that being so important. The man left everything he knew, everything he built, everyone he was networked with, everything. He loved his family so much that he was like, I got to get us out of here. And the reason an entrepreneur had that forethought is because that's how we win as entrepreneurs. We see the future, we create the future, we model the future. That's what we do. And that to me is thought leadership. And I'm wondering, like, how did you get the thought leadership? Was it like something passed down to you from your dad? Why that show? What is it for? And how did you get into it? And let's talk about that some more, because I think the future is about thought leadership right now.
That's 100% accurate. So my father taught me something very valuable, that you got to be a good human being. You got to make a difference for people. You got to care. And to me, that's the foundation of everything. What you
Yes.
said about people are sick of being sold. The buyers evolved. They don't want to hear that crap anymore. They want somebody authentic who cares. Everyone that comes in front of you is someone's wife, someone's husband, someone's daughter,
Yes.
someone's son, someone's mother, someone's
Mhm.
father. They have hopes, dreams, and fears. They're a hero to somebody. And your job as a child of God is to look them in the eye and thank God for the opportunity to serve, and ask yourself and ask God to make you worthy of the opportunity to make a difference in this person's life. Because I'm going to tell you, there's a friend of mine. He told a story the other day. He's a coach. And he said that one day he just didn't feel like taking one of his coaching calls. It was a new person. He'd never spoken to them before. And he just said, oh my God. And he said, you know what? They're on the calendar. Let me just get up and do it. And so he started the conversation. He started to talk to this fellow. And the fellow and him, they had a little bit of connection happening, a little bit of rapport. And the fellow said, listen, I just want you to know something. I'm sitting here having this call with you with a revolver in my lap. And depending on how the call goes,
Wow.
I'm going to decide whether I'm going to use that revolver on myself or not at the end of the call. And so my buddy went from, I don't want to do this call, what the heck,
Yeah.
to like, I got to save this guy's life. He just switched on from tired to
Yes.
energized, and he just gave this dude his all, and the guy didn't shoot himself, thankfully. And that was
Yeah.
a powerful lesson. You never know what people are dealing with. You just don't.
So true. Nikki, you just reminded me of something that I went through on a sales call. I actually called to talk to a guy because I wanted to buy something from him that he didn't have for sale that I knew he had. And I'm going to say it was coins, gold coins. And I wanted to buy his collection. So I called him up and his wife actually answered. And his wife, when she answered the phone, I asked him blah blah blah, and I knew she wasn't okay. I knew right then she wasn't okay. But what happened was she was trying to figure out how to kill herself because her husband was out and she was going to kill herself right then. I was on the phone with her for 3 hours, until her husband had come back. But I realized in that moment, the divine had set that phone call up just like that. And that's the whole point of serving. Serving isn't sweet or sexy or perfect. Right now, there are so many people in Florida that are just wiped out, suffering. And there are neighbors out there, people that are faster than the armed forces, that are faster than the National Guard, that are faster than the Salvation Army, over to their neighbor's house, getting them stuff, getting them supplies, getting them things, because people are faster than any system that happens. And that to me is part of the thought leadership. When you get service in the moment, when you get that nudge, it says, go do it, go do that thing. I love that story. And I think that's so important because you don't know when, but you'll know why the second you're there. You won't know when, you'll know why. It's not like that. Your service doesn't happen on a schedule. Service happens in the moment, right that now. I love that your friend, he was like, hi, I'm just not into it, I don't want to be there. And I'm like, this is life or death therapy. Are you in or are you out with me? I was like, oh God, that was an incredible show of the human experience. And everybody thinks that it's all sweet and roses for coaches and people who are out there being a thought leader. Being a thought leader is a big service position. Do me a favor. Can you give me like maybe 3 things that you think, somebody who thinks, well, maybe I'm a thought leader. Like, let's go with a definition and maybe 3 tips to find out, how would you know if you're a thought leader or not?
Well, look, one of the folks that I've followed is a guy out of Australia named Matt Church, and he's the fellow who actually originally showed me what thought leadership was. Okay, and his definition of thought leadership is brilliant. He draws a distinction between an expert and a thought leader. And he said an expert is someone who knows something. The experts are a dime a dozen. They know something, right? They're good. But a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. Thought leaders are rare and valuable. Now, another fellow that I interviewed on my show, his name is David Meerman Scott. He is Tony Robbins's marketing guru. So Tony Robbins goes to this guy. And here's how he put it when I interviewed him. He said, an expert is like a cover band, while a thought leader plays original music.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's the perfect description of that. Yes, because everybody can learn cover tunes. In fact, that's what most people do. Experts are those that are cover tunes. I have a book out. I don't remember which one it was out of the 41, but I teach people how to go from coaches and leaders to mentors, and paid mentors, not volunteer mentors, paid mentors and paid well mentors. And one of the things that's there about that is that description that you just said, that is Tony Robbins's marketing guru guy. And when you interviewed him and he was like, yes, you are known for being known for things. One thing I think, if you have 3 tips for that, being known, not an expert, because a lot of people, I think, Nicky, the bridge that is most people don't know how to go through is going from expert to thought leader, and from thought leader to mentor. They want to just say, I'm an expert, therefore I'm all of these things. And that doesn't happen. That's not true. What are some of the things that, if you're an expert and you're really looking to become a thought leader, or you're really looking to become a mentor of some sort, what are those things that will help them make that transition? Because if you're an expert, you can be a coach. And I'm sorry to say this, I love you all so much. Coaches have become a dime a dozen.
They are.
Thought leaders are what's needed in the world. And how do you bring your thought leadership out? Let's just unpack all of that.
That's a fantastic question. And let me take some time to do this properly because it deserves a comprehensive answer. So here's one thing I want to say about coaches. They're not only a dime a dozen, they hardly make any money.
That's right.
The median income for a coach in the United States is $52,318.
I thought it was even lower than that. It was like
this is in the
40,000.
United States.
Oh, in the US.
Globally, it's is around 42,000 and change.
Yeah.
So $10,000 lower. And they're in some countries where it's like under like 20,000. Coaches don't make a lot of money. Why is that? They're all experts. I'm an expert. I'm a coach. I'm a life coach. So you need to fix your relationship. I can help you with that. Oh, you got to lose some weight. I can help you with that. Oh, you need to make some money. My goodness, I can help you with that too. I'm a coach. Yeah. Wrong. Do not pass go. The number one characteristic that you need to acquire, and this is one of the things we do. We work with a lot of coaches, determined thought leaders. That's kind of our shtick, right? We add a zero to your income by doing that minimum, sometimes 2 zeros. You know what I'm saying? And because coaches make so little money, like if they're making 50,000 a year, to take them from 50,000 to like 1 million, my God, that's like 2 zeros right there.
Oh yeah,
right?
that's their dream, isn't it?
It's their dream. It's their dream. But here's the deal, and this is something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. Their message is a Mayo message. It's a Mayo message. It stinks. It's terrible. What do? I do real estate. Yep. I do real estate. Yep. I do real estate. No. What do? I got real estate. Okay, no. Real estate is what you sell. What do you do? How do you help people? Well, the first step in becoming a thought leader is you need to have a group of people, a narrow niche or niche, as you Americans say, that has a problem, an acute level 10 problem. To be a thought leader, you need to help people with acute level 10 problems, not level 3 problems, not level 5 problems, not level 7 problems, acute level 10 problems. So you might be asking yourself, okay, Nicky, sounds good, but what is like an acute level 10 problem? Let me tell you what an acute level 10 problem is. Number one, it's a problem that they must solve right away. They cannot have this problem continue. Perhaps their marriage is falling apart. Perhaps their business is about to go bankrupt. Perhaps they're 80 pounds overweight and they've been told they're going to have diabetes and they're going to lose their limbs and their eyesight's going to disappear if they don't do something about it. Those are examples of level 10 problems. When you solve level 10 problems for people, let me tell you, people are interested in solving those problems. And when you become known as someone who solves a level 10 problem, boom. So the problem I solve for people, for entrepreneurs, is a level 10 problem. These people don't have enough income. The pressure this is putting on them financially. They can't buy a home. They can't buy a dream home. They can't take their family on vacation. They're stressed out. Their hair is falling out in clumps. They can't sleep. They put on weight. They're fighting with the people that they love. Think about this. Emotionally, they feel, I'm a loser, I'm bad. I mean, all of this is level 10 stuff that they're being hammered with. So what do I tell them? I go, simple. I help you add a 0 or 2 to your income while working less and getting rid of all your stress. Now, I'm telling you, if you have those stresses, you're going to go, okay, Nicky, tell me how. Tell me how. I'm listening. You got my full attention. You need to solve that kind of problem. You can't go around saying, oh, I help people get out of overwhelm. Yep, overwhelm. I help people deal with overwhelm. That is not a real problem. That is just some bull crap that people are spouting. Overwhelm? No. Overwhelm isn't the problem. The problem is they don't have enough money. The people that they love are done with them. They're about to get a huge health consequence because they haven't taken care of themselves physically. Those are the trinity of acute problems. You get paid big money when you solve big problems. You get paid little money when you solve little problems. So you're better off solving big acute problems. You want to be a thought leader? How about dialed in message? You got to have thought leadership. You got to have extraordinary, Vickie, extraordinary level solutions to problems people have. So what I've done in the area of performance and winning is I've created 57 discrete pieces of intellectual property on that subject. I've gone deep. I've got a statement on it. I've got an explanation of it. I've got like case studies of 4, 5, 6 people that this has applied to. I've got a literature review of books and actual university level studies done on the subject. I've got a visual model that shows how it is. I got a metaphor. On the back, I got 7 ways to say it for different audiences, from formal to informal, from younger audiences to more mature audiences. And then I've got 20 questions that I've developed for each of these pieces of IP to help develop like basically a coaching methodology that can be turned into something licensable that I can sell. And at some point, I'm going to do that. I teach people how to do that who are coaches. So when they solve problems, they're not just, oh, Nicky's a business coach, Vickie's a relationship coach. No, Vickie's the coach who works with women over the age of 45 who own their own multi-million-dollar law firm and are going through a divorce. That's all Vickie does. She knows everything there is to know about these women. So guess what? When one of these women's going through the divorce and they want to like not get destroyed by it, who are they going to call? A Joe Schmo relationship coach or Vickie Helm? They're going to call
I want to stop right there because you said something that was so important. I think you said 3 key things that I think is so important, and I don't want to pass it by.
Cool.
Because the expert trap is often sold to people as, and welcome to the game. Here's the game. I'm a coach. I'm an expert. And you climb. Eventually you have to be a thought leader. And what he talked about there about the thought leadership. So one of the companies I own is a consulting firm, and it's a research firm. And I've done research projects for like a decade. So on my Cash Flow Mojo, How to Get Rich, Stay Rich, and Become Financially Independent Forever, that book right there is based on research that has been done over 10, 15, 20 years. What he just said, the difference between an expert and a thought leader is this. The thought leader does the research, which he's talked about how much work he's already done. And what happens with an expert is they want somebody to tell them what to do. And a thought leader wants to figure out the problem. Now, let me just tell you something. If you're an expert, it's like, tell me how to do this. And you get good at the system, you get good at doing it, then you're an expert. You get good at the system, you get good at the doing it. The thought leader is the guy who looked at the problem and created the system to solve it. The expert is the person who takes that and goes and says, I'm going to help other people solve that. The thought leader is the person behind that. What he did was he said how much more deeply he went in there. He took the financial stress that most families feel, that most businesses evidently everyone starts. You don't get good at being an entrepreneur until you have some really ugly financial situations you have to get yourself out of. It's just part of the game. And or financial mistakes that you've made. It's just part of the game. So one of the things is that problem solving from a different perspective that creates the system. He said he has 57 pieces of intellectual property that he's created in order to solve the problem. So, as an expert, if you want to get to the point where you're a thought leader, you're going to have to put yourself in the problem. And I don't mean just, hi, I've experienced the problem, but spend time with the problem. Help talk to people with the problem. He talked about the pain, knew exactly what pains happened. He said, you're fighting with your loved one. And I know how awful it is to have a fight with your spouse. It doesn't matter. It's just awful feeling to have that. You always want harmony and love, or at least I do. I always want harmony and love and fun. But the thing is, Nikki, that there are so many couples that have a business right now. And to me, that thing that you solve is the number one thing that has to be solved. Why? Because unlike, like, if Nikki and Vickie decided to have the Nikki and Vickie company, then
Good
he
name.
puts 10,000 in, I put 10,000 in. And if Nikki and Vickie go belly up, we're only out $10,000. But if you're a couple run business, everything is on the line. Your business is on the line. Your house and savings is on the line. Your quality of life is on your line. Your marriage is on your line. If it doesn't work, you end up sometimes with this power struggle or blame or whatever. It's like those kinds of things Nikki has already gone so deeply into. And that's the difference. That's the difference between the thought leader. And I believe, Nikki, that I think if anyone wants to truly be sovereign, they need to also look at that. It's like thought leadership is sovereignty. It's you being
Love that.
your ability to uncover solutions out of you. You're known for solving the problem. It's not just a problem, it's problems. So there's multiple level of problems in the financial pieces of adding a zero, whether that zero is a 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 figure or 9 figures to your business. And I loved what you said, and I don't want to go past that because I think that is one of the most important, insightful pieces of the difference between a thought leader and an expert. An expert wants to buy the course and learn the thing and then do the thing enough to get good at it. And maybe that's 6 figures. Like, hi, I have an agency and it's doing $250,000 a year. And so you think right there that now you're a thought leader. No, you're just a good lucky expert. And if there is one thing different that happens in your process, like a new piece of software, a new regulation, or a new algorithm, boom, you could be out of business the next day. Then you're like, okay, I need to go find it. That's what an expert does. A thought leader, vastly different. Thank you for that. I want to ask a couple more questions if you don't mind. The
Absolutely.
the the way that you develop, I mean, like, what's your process when you sit with a problem long enough inside you and you say, like, I have a feeling, I get, a knowing, like it's divinely led for me, where I'm sit down and I'm like, oh, that's the topic I got to solve and write about right now. Or I put into a research contract for one of for our consulting firm. What I want to know is, what's your process for problem solving when you look at something that's a big problem. And let's say not your business, but let's like a case study of a client, so to speak, where you go in and you're like, hey, they don't know what they're going to do to add a zero to the end of their first zero, not two, but 1 to 2 zeros. That's really great. But what is the process that I think everybody should look for? And if you want to work with Nicky, just relax. It'll be in the show notes and I'll let him do all that stuff at the end of the show. Right now, I'm riveted by this conversation we're having. And I just want to, I just want to be able to go a little deeper and say, if you're a coach right now or an expert and you want to become a thought leader, what's the process of the thinking strategies that you use to develop a thought leader project or a system or a solution?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'll give you a story from one of our clients. So there was
Mm-hmm.
a young man who was a fitness trainer, and he came to see us when he was 25 years old, and his business was not doing well. He had seven clients, and he didn't charge a lot. I think he charged $25 a session. It was
Yeah, he's hungry.
crazy. So he was making less than $1,500 a month. Okay. He had to borrow money from mom and dad to pay the rent. That's how bad it was, right? So, he comes to me, someone's introduced him to me, and I go, okay, who do you work with? He says, oh, I'll work with anybody. I go, no. Who do you work with? He goes, oh, no, I'll work with anybody, really, anybody. I said, anybody with a wallet and a pulse? He goes, yeah. No, that's not going to work, right? That's the first thing. I said, so he said, okay, all right. And I said, what do you do for people? I go, well, I can do anything. I make them stronger. I can help you lose weight. No, buddy, you got to focus on one thing. He said, okay. I'm going to help people get stronger and, healthier and maybe lose a bit of weight. But like the main thing is get stronger and tougher. All right. That's good. That's valid. So I said, okay, you got to narrow your niche. He goes, okay. I'll work with doctors. My dad's a doctor and they have a lot of money. Yes, I'll work with doctors. Vickie, you can imagine doctors love the message. You have a lot of money. I want to work with you. So I go, no, buddy. And obviously, he didn't get many clients out of that. And he goes, okay. So you know what? I'll narrow my niche more. I'm going to work with cardiologists. I'll work with cardiologists.
They make a lot of money.
More money. Oh my God. Yes, that was a great message. You guys make more money than doctors. Come work with me. And all of a sudden, we started to work with a fella, a really, really amazing man who was a Paralympic athlete by the name of Papito Wilson. He was an Afro-Cuban fella, really, really cool guy. I got to know him, and he loved working with Papito Wilson. I could tell he loved working with Papito Wilson. And he came to me and he said, Nicky, I love working with Papito, man. He said, I think I'd like to work with people with missing limbs. And I've been thinking that'd be a good idea for him. So I said,
Interesting.
Yeah, go for it. Missing limbs. He said, I'm going to go tell him, I'm going to get you strong, fit. You got a missing limb. Let's get the rest of your body strong. So Vickie, he got 400 clients in 6 weeks. He couldn't do one-on-one training anymore. He had to create a fitness coaching program. He added 2 zeros to his income because he was making less than $1,500 a month, and he started making over $100,000 a month. 100,000. Now you know how personal trainers are so well paid, not right? So, and this fellow went from not understanding how to be a thought leader, not understanding how to stand out, to being the go-to thought leader for working with people with missing limbs. It was beautiful.
Oh my God, I think that's so incredible. And I want to talk about something here that he just mentioned that I think is super important. So there are experts who make 7 figures doing the system they do. Like maybe you have an ad agency, but making 7 figures isn't what makes you a thought leader. And what he just said was he took this client and really got clear about what he was working with, who he was serving, and the amount of people he was helping. He didn't mention salaries or wages, or he just went from 7 people to 400 people. He couldn't do one-on-one anymore. He's now the GOAT. He's now the GOAT in that industry. Here's the thing. We think this is so, you have to have a bit of discernment. The reason people get so screwed over is because they don't understand the discernment he just said. If you're shopping right now for a solution, do you want to get it from an expert or a thought leader? That's really the thing. Now, I'll tell you this, the expert has learned from the thought leader. Full stop. And the expert may be saying, I make 7 figures, but my marketing is awesome. And maybe that's true, but the thought leader is consistently solving the problem. What he did with this guy was make him a thought leader with a very specific market, a market that was underserved, an underserved market. And remember what he said, with a really big problem. Just off the top of my head, Nikki, if you see this guy again, I think that a dating site might be good for that as well. And I see this because I have a friend of mine who was a expert for people who had AIDS. And what he did was, the AIDS are, it's just the forgotten market. Nobody wants to deal with you. It's AIDS. And so what he did was he created a place for them to come and talk. He would coach with them. Well, what ended up happening was he made a dating site for people with AIDS so that they could talk to each other, etc. Because it is, you can imagine, you suddenly become a dating pariah if you have AIDS, even though there's lots of medical things like that. Well, obviously, for people who are missing limbs, there's nothing wrong with missing limbs. There's tons of people that have that, but there's also some people who are freaked out about it or whatever else. But where can you go where you can just talk about what happened to you, and what you like to do, what you're capable of, what, a para athlete, or the things that you can do now. It's a place where people can go to have continuous a reminder that they have a life, that they're capable, that they're worthy, that they're everything about that whole process. It's such an interesting solution to have. That just, that I work with people who are lost their limbs. Oh my God, that is so brilliant. And when he said in the very beginning of the show, thought leaders deal with big problems, real problems, heavy problems, things that are not easy to deal with. That's where the thought leader goes. We take things like connection. That's, if you take a look at Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and those guys, they dealt with the biggest problems of the time, connecting in real time all around the world. And now we don't live without it. We're connected. I don't even know where this guy lives. And we're on the show in real time in different time zones right now, delivering to thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are going to be listening to this show now and listening to it afterwards. This is the point of being a thought leader. The thought leader is, how can I make that world a better place? And I believe, Nikki, and I want to talk about this, I believe that everybody has some form of thought leadership within them. And I want to talk about accessing that, not just problem solving, but getting to the point where you're stop following the masses and start looking inward for your message, and then take your message to the masses. And I want to know how someone can do that. Like, let's say they're right now, great, I'm a great expert, but I really want to serve at a higher, deeper level. How do I tap into that part of themselves?
What a brilliant question. So, we do these quarterly events called the Branded Thought Leader Immersion Workshops.
Mhm.
Basically, you make a decade's worth of progress in 3 days, because you're going to be working with us, and we're going to help you kind of avoid a ton of mistakes, because we made those mistakes and we figured out how to help other people avoid them. And you're going to be around a bunch of great people. And inside of that, on day one, it's a deep dive into your favorite subject. You get to go figure out what is it that has made Vickie Helm. We're going to have you go through and create a timeline of every major event that's happened in your life. And we do it in a particular way that extracts the lessons that you got out of those events. So when I was like 5 years old, there was in Iran back in those days, they heated water on an open flame in a big, metal vat. And I wasn't even 5. I was like 2, 3. I climbed into that vat. I climbed into it. I was in the hospital for a month. I've got burn scars on my side and on my arm still from that. I was in the hospital for a month. Whether I was going to live or die was unclear. You know what I'm saying?
Gosh. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I know it's
Your
rough.
poor mom and
And
dad, they must have been
yeah,
just out of their
oh my
minds.
God, out of their minds. But
Mhm.
you know what? What I got from that was I turned that around and I got well quickly. So I'm a fellow who gets well quickly. I bounce back. I'm stronger than ever. That's one of my strengths. I went through a divorce, one I didn't seek or want, and yet I went through it. Because I went through that divorce, I started, I joined a men's movement, and then I created my own men's movement, The Sovereign Man. We've got our website and our podcast that we do to help men become sovereign. So I've helped save 60 marriages. 60
Wow,
marriages.
congratulations. That's
Thank you.
huge.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's
It's
huge.
good
Yeah.
stuff. It's good stuff. And I'm like, there's a lot of men out there right now that are like seeking, how do I be a man in this modern world? And well, there's all kinds of people that are jumping up and being gurus. And there's this young man named Andrew Tate. He's become the focal point of a lot of people's
Yes. Yes.
attention. And
Yes.
he's a good-looking man. He's articulate. He's in shape. He's successful. But all he talks about to men is, listen, you got to become the best man you can be. And that means make your money, become successful, go sleep with a lot of women. I'm like, okay, no, maybe not. Maybe not go sleep with a lot of women. Maybe become the best version of you. I agree with that. But maybe focus on being a man who's reliable and countable. There used to be a time where the very definition of a man was you could count on his word. A man would say X,
Yes.
he would do X. That is not true anymore. That's for
That's
darn
true.
sure. It is not. But I cannot imagine my father or my grandfather ever being late, for example. When they said, I will be there at 6 p.m., they were there at 5:40. You understand what I'm saying? That's how they rolled. That's what man was. How many men do this? Successful men, not very many. This guy, Andrew Tate, he's 35 years old. With all due respect to him, you're young and dumb about this, Andrew. Maybe you're smart about how to make money. I'll grant you that. But you don't understand what it is to be a man. How good are you with keeping your word? If you understood what it was to be a man, 80% of what you talk about would be telling men, say and do what you say. Say and do what you say. You want to be a man? Say things and do them. Things you say in your head to yourself, do them. When you say, I'll be up at 6 to work out, be up at 5:45 and work out at 6. That's what being a man is. You understand what I'm saying? So I learned this from this divorce I went through. And we teach people through a very powerful process how to go into all of those areas, extract the lessons from those key things, and then turn those lessons into areas of expertise. So for me, winning in performance is one, overcoming adversity is another, communication is another. And then we create these folders which we populate with intellectual properties, like in a very structured format. This is how we show people how to take that genius within and in a very structured way, turn it into their own IP. They can then use that to look to see how they can solve problems for people that have real big problems, big, acute, awful problems. And that is what makes them a thought leader, a branded thought leader with the ability to monetize. You got to have income, you got to have impact, and you got to have influence. You can only do that as a thought leader. You can only do that when you work on yourself and you have a heart to care and deliver for others.
Okay, so this is interesting because the three things, he kind of rolled them all together. He didn't say number one, number two, and number three. But I think the key things that I got from this is you already have something that you've solved that was painful in your life already. You've already done that. What you haven't done is identified that pain. You haven't actually said, this is the most painful thing I've ever been through. This is what happened. But I liked when you said, I recover quickly. Oh, I love that. I love that when you said that. It's like that affirmation was, put inside you at such a young age. The other thing that I thought was really important was that once you got that idea, you went and got a couple more. It was like, well, I'm kind of this, I've got this and this. And there's a commonality between the painful situation somebody's gone through and how you've responded. There is a commonality between, like, let's say, I think you said you went through a divorce, your body was burned, and those are some pretty traumatic events to go through. But his recovery thing, when he identified that he got to the point where he got through things quickly, it's the breaking the, well, what did I do to get through these things quickly? What exactly was step one? What did I do? What did I do? Here's the thing. You have to spend time with you to get to know you in a way that you are uncovering your secret gifts. Everybody, you spend so much time talking about what's wrong with you and what's bad about you and what you're incomplete with and blah, 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 criticize, inner critic. You haven't stopped that even long enough there to uncover the gift of what you do well. And most people don't concentrate on what they do well. They're told to concentrate on where they lack or what they think is not good about him. This is the difference between being a thought leader and not, because when the inner critic comes up, we notice the inner critic coming up and we're like, oh, there you are again. Okay, I'm just going to set you down. And how is it that you set that inner critic down? That one little statement is what a thought leader teaches. This is how you shut down your inner critic so that the transformation you seek can actually happen. Then the second thing is, after he got his nuggets out, he put intellectual property to them. And evidently the program he's got is, I just wanted 3 tips. He told you about the program as well, but I'm going to give you the 3 tips right now while you're driving, because I think if you don't know how to do this, whether you want to be a thought leader or not, doesn't matter. If you want to be sovereign, if you want to be free, if you want to feel stressless, if you want to feel good, these are some of the things and tools you need to know how to do. Now, trust me, I promise you this. What Nicky just said about monetizing it, that's the best part of it. The best part of this is being paid to heal or walk other people into their healing and their transformation, whether that's, it doesn't matter what thing it is. So that third thing, that identifying and making that intellectual piece of property, that course, that book, that whatever that is, with those 3 things right there, that's something that you can now market well. And here's how you market it. You market it because he's been telling you nothing but his personal stories. He's been telling you about what happened to him and how he got through it. And that's how you begin to sell without being schmarmy. Or, hey, Sunday, and Sunday only. This is how we do it. We do it with these personal stories. We do it with this, hi, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got a couple of scars, got some bruises, but I'm on this end of it. And I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, I'm this, and I want to show you how to do that. Are you interested? Yes or no? And then there you go. It's that simple. And I love the process by which he's even talking about it on the show. So when you're moving forward in your life, everything that you've gone through that is the dark night of the soul, everything can be turned into helping others go through the dark night of the soul. I don't know. Nicky, do you know Alex Hermosi? Yeah.
Uh,
have you heard him?
I've seen him. Yeah,
Mhm.
he's a fellow Persian, and he does like helps people
Yes,
that are gym
that's
owners.
right.
That's his deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
He did with the gym owners. Now he's really big and everything else, and very popular. If you get, I absolutely love him and his wife. I love listening to them. They're kind of mentors for me outside of. I just love their business. But one of the things that was interesting that he shared that was so similar to you, because this guy is really capitalized on his mistakes and his successes, and he knows the difference between the two of them. He really has this thing there that helps you reflect on some of the pieces that you're good at, and that start place from where you are. You have to start somewhere. If you want an online business and you're like, hi, I just want to sell something online, if you sell a real painful solution, you have upped your chances for success to get to that 7, 8, 9 figure position. If you actually sell that solution, that to me is where the big money is stable and stabilizes a strategy of that. But the key thing is thought leadership is not a single solution. It is a mindset and a lifestyle. If you want to be a thought leader, you have to stop being a coach and you have to stop being an expert. And it's great to learn things, putting things in your belt, learn things, learn things, learn things. But the difference between a thought leader is that you're willing to stay with the pain long enough to create the system and the solution. And most people don't want to, they run away from the pain. They want an instant solution. They're like, oh, I have a headache. Oh, I want to take an aspirin, not what caused my headache. I'm not drinking enough water. Now I'm dehydrated. That's what caused my headache. And now instead of the aspirin, you drink more water. The thought leader is the person who gets in your stuff and says, here's how we do this. This is the way through the pain, not avoiding the pain, but to get to the other side of it, whether it's financial issues, whether it's health issues, whether it's whatever. And they sell you the coaching expert space. But I believe the 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 figures comes at the thought leader stage. And I think, Nikki, one of the most important things I've learned today is to really break down what the stage is between a wantrepreneur, a entrepreneur, an expert, a and I think thought leader and mentor is how it goes. It's not the other way for me. It's thought leader and mentor. Thought leader is like, hi, I have 20 years in the industry. I mentor the thought leaders and help them help the other people. And I love the way you've broken this down. Now, I know there are going to be people who are driving around listening and listening to the replay and listening live right now. And they're like, ooh, I got to work with Nikki. So, Nicky Billou, where can they get a hold of you online? Where can they get a hold of you? How could they can be in touch with you?
So look, if you want to just connect anywhere on social media, I mean, LinkedIn, Facebook, Gab, Getter, Parler, places like that, Instagram, I'm all over there. I might even go back on Twitter now that Elon Musk is buying it, because I quit Twitter a while
Yeah,
ago.
right,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. So Nicky Billou, you pull that in. But if you're a business owner and you're stuck and you're serious about wanting some help, the best thing to do is go to my main website, which is called eCircle Academy, ecircleacademy.com. And all you got to do at that point is there's a button there. There's tons of resources. Go get all the resources. They're free, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But there's a button there that says book a call. And I do something called a success call. And essentially, it's an opportunity to have a very honest conversation about what's going on in your life, what's going on in your business. And we'll take a look at why it's not going the way you want it to go. And it's free. I do that. I do everything that I offer there on a complimentary basis. But can I tell one last story before we wrap up? Yeah. So, because this is very powerful. So, 4.5 years ago or so, a woman who had been the country director for one of the world's largest personal development firms for Canada, she came to see us because she had brought a fellow on to help her grow the business. And it turned out this guy hadn't had the greatest reputation. He said he was all reformed, turned out not to quite be true, and he kind of forced her out. So for 1.5 years, for 18 months, she was like floundering. She was brought to us, and, she needed someone to love on her and tell her this was possible for her. She needed to borrow some belief. So we did that for her. The whole community did it for her. And then we helped her narrow her niche. We helped her get a clear message. She's going to work with entrepreneurs who were growing super fast and just needed a confidant, needed somewhere where they could unburden themselves because the stress and pressure was really too much for them. So she did real well. Her first month, she made $10,000. Her second month, she made $12,000. Her third month, she made $18,000. In her fourth month, though, she made $62,200. This number will become germane in a moment. And she lives in Ottawa. I live in Toronto. That's about a 5-hour drive. My oldest son, who was 12 at the time, 16 now, he had a soccer tournament in Ottawa. Yeah. And so we drove to Ottawa, and she had a son his age. So I called her up and I said, hey, we're coming to Ottawa. Would you like to, bring your son and, watch some of the tournament, and maybe we can all grab some lunch after? He said, that sounds like a great idea. And so we did all that. And anyways, everybody had a great time. And then we went home. And then a few weeks later, we had one of our branded thought leader immersion workshops, which we have once a quarter. She'd been a member of our year-long mastermind program. And we have an upsell opportunity, a registration opportunity, enrollment opportunity. So the way I do it is I bring my people up to share their experience. I don't do the pitch myself, right? So
sure, of course.
So I said, who'd like to share it? She did not wait to be picked on. She bounded on stage. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. All right, great. She looks around the audience, and Vickie, she started to bawl like a baby. She cried and cried. And like any red-blooded man faced with a crying woman, I proceeded to panic. Why is she crying inside? Now, outside, I'm cool as a cucumber, but inside, I'm like, what did I do? And she turns around and she looks at me, and in between the tears, she goes, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to meet me and my little son, just like excited little boys do, went, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? And she just looked at him and said, oh, son, we're going to go meet Ricky Billou and his son. And she said to me, all of a sudden, my son got very quiet and very serious. And he lowered his voice and he went, oh, are we going to get to meet the man who saved our family?
Mm.
And I looked at her, and you got to understand, Vickie, Nicky here is an old school, man. I don't cry. Not in public. Yeah. I started to cry. We hugged. And in between her tears, she said, you didn't know this, but when I met you, we hadn't paid our mortgage in months. The bank was about to foreclose on our house. My husband and I were fighting every day, and it looked like our family was about to break up. You literally helped us save our family. So what did this do for me? Well, number one is I realized that you have no idea what someone's dealing with. They may not feel comfortable in sharing the full story with you. And I had no idea she was dealing with this. And I just want, I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to help this woman. And I ask God for the humility to understand that I didn't do this. God did this. And to understand that I just need to find more people to help genuinely from a place of love, help, not any other way. And the other thing is that during the enrollment and registration opportunity, normally we hand out registration papers, and some of the people sign up and some of the people sit with it, and I need to sit down and persuade them. There were 8 new people in the room. All 8 of them signed up with 0 prompting. In fact, they were snatching the paperwork out of my Teresa's hand.
Of course.
And there were 2 fellas in the room who, had told me beforehand that they were not going to be signing up for my upsell. And one of them came up to me and he just, Nick, come here, come here. He was a big bluff fella. He said, I just want you to know, I know you got an upsell coming. I know. Listen, I bought your program. That's great and all, but I ain't buying your upsell. I don't want you to be disappointed. Like he just with really, intense energy. I'm like, all right, buddy, whatever. It's all good. He was the first fella to sign up. The first, this guy. And then he walked over to me and excuse my language, but he looked at me and he said, come here, you son of a bitch. I'm like, whoa, man. And he said, I wasn't going to sign up for your darn upsell. He said, but I guess you're not full of crap. And he said, and I do need some help with my business. And that taught me something else. It taught me that this fella's a good fella, but he had armor on. He'd probably been burned by somebody before. He'd had a bad experience and he wanted to protect himself. It's perfectly understandable. And what took all of that away was the raw authenticity of this woman being real about her life, what she was dealing with, and how this helped her. And that's what had this fella put all that crap aside. So when someone's telling you what they're telling you, it's not about you. It's not about anything you did wrong. It's about them. It's about their hoping against hope that you're a good person. They're asking themselves, is this fella, is this gal, they a good person? Or are they going to disappoint me just like all these other folks have? And you are given an opportunity by God to just love them, give them grace, and serve them, and not be worried about whether you're going to sell them or not sell them. Because if you give them your heart, you give them your all, that's what matters. Not whether you get the damn transaction. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and that's what I
do.
wanted to leave your people with before we finish today.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, you guys, I'll see you next week where again we'll have one of the best experts from around the world. This has been, of course, the Coffee Break Show. See you guys later.